Okay, hang with me here. We're almost finished with the configuration. Okay, we've just finished our motors, and now we're going to work on our OSD. Okay, you'll probably fiddle with this more as you get more familiar with flying and stuff like that, and find things you like or don't like or whatever. But basically, this is your on-screen display. So OSD is on-screen display. This is kind of a preview here of what it would look like in your goggles, and we'll test that in a minute here. And then down here are a bunch of different things you can add. They call them elements. Okay, you can add to your video transmitter over on-screen display. Okay, so right now there's a couple defaults selected. We have our battery, cell voltage, battery current draw, okay, things like that. A couple down here at the bottom, RSSI value, timer 2, okay, warnings, all right, those are all selected, okay. And the reason why there's three different columns here, 1, 2, 3, is because there's different what are called OSD profiles. So personally, I don't use different profiles, but basically a profile is a group of settings. So you can set up your quadcopter to be where you flip a switch on your transmitter and your on-screen display will go to a different profile. So profile 1, profile 2, or profile 3. You could have different profiles for different types of flying, for racing versus freestyle. There's lots of reasons why you could do this. I don't personally use any different profiles, but if you want different elements present in different profiles, you would select them in the different numbers. So if I wanted battery average cell voltage in my profile 1, and I didn't want battery current draw in 1, I wanted it in 2, then that would be my selection there. Okay. If you're just going to use one profile, just make sure everything's selected in the number 1 profile and just use that one all the time. Like I said, I don't see a reason for different profiles personally, but I don't understand everything about the world of FPV, so maybe I'm just missing something. Okay. So you can select different things you want to look at, and you can basically check those here just like that, for example. We should be able to see it update, okay? So this box, this compass heading thing, this black box thing, those all showed up because I checked these boxes down here, okay? And if I uncheck them, then it should disappear. All right, there we go. There's one down here, craft name, okay? Remember earlier in the video I put Duke as the name of my craft. If we go up here now, it shows Duke right in the middle of my screen, okay? Probably don't want it there, but you get all the elements that you want first, and then you can kind of move them around. So we should be able to click those little arrows and kind of drag these into a different grid. So if I say I want Duke over here, it's going to move it down there, and this should be a reasonable preview of how it will look in my goggles, okay? Again, this is for analog setup. I'm not doing a digital FPV setup right now. This is all analog. But you can move things around here, and then we'll test in the goggles in a second and see if they showed up where we wanted them to show up, or if we need to move things different spots, or whatever you want to do with those kind of things. Okay. Leave these settings alone over here. I did change the units to imperial. If you want to do that, you can instead of metric. Everything else is just fine. You can leave all these checked. Those defaults work really well. We'll add specific things later on in the class if you want, or I'll talk about specific things, but the defaults are fine for all of this stuff. Okay. These are of course just warnings during flight, and after you disarm your aircraft on the ground, it can give you a bunch of statistics about like how far you flew, or how fast you went, or how much battery, that kind of thing, and you can check or uncheck those to be displayed after you're done flying. Okay. There are different fonts you can use. Let's go up here. So this is the default font. There's also a Betaflight font, which I think looks kind of cool, at least for analog. It's kind of more of a, I don't know, I don't know what you call that, but it looks kind of nice. Um, there's other fonts you can apply as well. I've never tried all of these or anything, but this one's a little bit bigger, easier to see in your goggles perhaps. Okay, so you can pick a different font of whatever type you would like. Okay, if you want to do that. And then of course you save it down here. So I'll hit save. All right. Okay, that's our on-screen display. The next tab over here is our video transmitter. Okay, now mine's going to differ a little bit than yours in this setup that you have, but the page is basically the same. Okay, and so when we set up our video transmitter, it's kind of half and half. You can do some setup without a battery plugged in, then you have to plug in a battery obviously to test things and make sure it's working. Okay, right now my battery is not plugged in, so my device ready says no, the video transmitter is not working because it's not powered on. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video. I'm gonna go over to basically the web page for your video transmitter, and we'll jump back in right there. So give me just a second. All right, brief pause there. We're going to jump over to this web page. I just forgot to pull it up. I apologize. I get the organization of these videos. Could be a little bit more scripted, probably. I apologize. So here I pulled up the Happy Model Fusion 2.0 video transmitter and receiver combination board, which is what you're using if you're using the analog video transmitter that we have in class. If you're using a digital video transmitter, you'll need to work on that on your own. Of course, I'm happy to help you, but I'm not going to cover that in this video. So the important thing about this page, this product page here, is that if you scroll down a little bit, we see this thing right here, VTX table. Smart Audio VTX table, and has all these numbers and stuff like that. Okay, this whole thing, basically, we're going to take this, we're going to copy it, so Control C or Command C on a Mac. We're going to go into Betaflight, connect to our quad, okay, and go down to the CLI. All right. Then you're going to basically paste, so Control V in here. And it's going to be hard to see it all, but you've actually pasted that whole thing, all those different lines, okay? And if you press enter, it will save all those things to the to the flight controller. Now, I'm not going to save mine because I have a different video transmitter in mine. I don't want to mess mine up. But you will save yours. You'll hit save, and you'll go back to the video transmitter tab, okay? What that's doing, this here, is basically telling your flight controller and video transmitter, is using a table basically. So these are all different channels, okay, inside of each band. So you have band A, B, E, F, R, and L, okay, for this video transmitter. And these are different channels inside those different bands. And then we have different power levels as well for our video transmitter, okay. This is kind of a reference table, at least the way I understand it, for your flight controller to communicate correctly with your video transmitter. We talked earlier in class about how you can change channels on your video transmitter or change power levels remotely, right? You can do it via your flight controller, via your transmitter in your hand even, okay? And this is how it is able to do that. It's able to know where the channels are at, send the right signals, and change those channels or change those power levels. Okay. If we go back into Betaflight here in our video transmitter page, you should have a table like this populated from that stuff we pasted into the CLI. Okay. And this will be a little bit different for you than for me, because again, I have a different video transmitter on my quad than you guys do this semester. Okay. But that should be populated, and we're going to move on from there. Okay. We're going to go back up now to this ports section. Okay. And what you want to do now on UART 6, okay, you want to click this peripherals section, click on this and go to drop down where it says VTX TBS Smart Audio. Select that and then save and reboot. Okay. The ports tab should still have it saved, okay. It should stay there. And we can go back to the video transmitter page now down here. And at this point, we're going to plug in a battery. Up to this point, I've not had a battery plugged in. We're just doing stuff with the USB power. Now I'm going to plug in a battery, okay, and I get things to power up, okay. Once it's plugged in and powered up, okay, if we kind of refresh this page, so we'll go to a different page perhaps and go back, see if that works. What we want to see is device ready, yes. Okay, right there, it's powered up, it's ready. Right. Now, this band and channel here will help you know what channel to turn your goggles to. This would be band F, channel 4. Okay. Most goggles or monitors have a scan feature. They kind of scan for whatever is powered up. But of course, if everyone's powered up in class at the same time, it'll hit all the different channels broadcasting. You may need to make sure you have the right one here, Fat Shark channel 4, on your goggles so you can see it. You can pick whichever one you want. Just know which one it is. And we'll go to the goggles here on the dot cam and we'll power it up. Okay, let me make this bigger. There we go, zoom in. Okay, so if I power this up, mine's already set to the channel. Okay, we can instantly see. I'm putting my hand in front of the quad here. Okay, I'm getting a video transmission signal from my quad to the monitor, right? FPV, hooray! Okay, but if you look, and it's really hard to see on the screen, I'm set to channel, or band F channel 4. If I need to change my channel or my band, here I have these buttons on this monitor. On your goggles, it may be a different type of button. But remember, we had, let's see here, band F channel 4 here. So that's what I've set on my monitor so I can see the video feed. Okay. This is something that's kind of like the old-fashioned TVs, right? If someone else is, say, on band F channel 8, you can go ahead and tune into their channel and you can see what they're seeing from their quad if you wanted to. That's how analog works. It's just broadcasting out from the quad and anyone can receive it as long as they have the right band and frequency and stuff like that. Okay. So that is our video transmitter. It's set up. It appears to be working. We want to have our power level at 25. That's the best because we're going to fly together in class. If you're flying by yourself, you can of course increase the power level to get a little bit more range, but when we're flying together, you can't use high power levels or your signal will overload someone else's signal and they'll lose their goggle feed and crash their drone and things like that. So we need to keep our power levels low for when we're flying together. Okay, you can save all of that on your quad. Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and unplug my battery real quick. So I don't want it to overheat my video transmitter. It's been sitting there for a minute. Oh, whoops, I didn't show you guys the save part. Sorry about that. Okay, so the power level thing I was just talking about, I apologize, is right here. Okay, 25 milliwatts. We'll leave our drone set to that since we're going to fly together in class. If you're flying by yourself, you can, of course, increase that power level. Okay. If it's you're flying with friends, you've got to have low power levels. Otherwise, your video signal can blow out someone else's video signal so they can't see what their drone sees. And if that happens while they're flying, they'll probably crash. We don't want to do that to our friends. Okay. Once you've had all your settings saved and stuff, you can, or figured out, I guess you can say, you can just hit save over here on the right-hand side. Save all those settings to your quad and video transmitter. Okay. And you should be good to go. Okay. Earlier, I apologize, I did hit save when I had the battery plugged in. Once you're done with that, we've finished the video transmitter setup. My battery is now unplugged from my quad, and we can move on to kind of the final steps here.